Europe's plan to deter Russian aggression in post-war Ukraine faces a major setback. The US has refused aerial cover for the European-led Coalition of the Willing, undermining efforts by the UK and France to secure Ukraine after hostilities end. Led by British PM Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron, the coalition aimed to deploy multinational troops with strong air defense to enforce a ceasefire. But President Trump's administration declined to offer guarantees, exposing divisions in Western unity. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth skipped the Ramstein allies meeting, the first Pentagon chief absence signaling a retreat from U.S. leadership in European security.
Being the sole guarantor of European security has passed. It's long overdue. Europe has to step up, fund its military, and lead. NATO needs to step up.
Europe hopes for U.S. intelligence support, but formal security commitments are off the table. Officials fear they'll be left to respond alone if Russia attacks coalition troops, as U.S. focus shifts toward Asia. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte reaffirmed U.S. commitment to Article 5, but warned Europe must take on more responsibility amid evolving U.S. priorities.
Be very straightforward here. Since January, I get two questions from European allies. Question one is the US still committed to NATO? The answer is yes. Committed to NATO, committed to Article 5, and this has been many times repeated by President Trump in many meetings. So my only suggestion to many European colleagues is put on your television so that you can hear him say this. Don't ask me, he's very clear about this. But there is an expectation. What we know is that the US, next to Europe, of course, also has to take care of the Middle East, has to take care of the Indo-Pacific, and it is only logical that over time, as we are building up, that the US will pivot somewhat more towards Asia.
With no ceasefire, coalition deployment is stalled. Europe now relies on strengthening Ukraine's military, allied training, NATO air cover on the east, and Black Sea patrols, possibly without US backing. The EU has unlocked $335 billion in COVID recovery funds for defense, while NATO urges allies to increase weapons stockpiles by 30%. Rutte calls for defense spending well above 2% GDP to counter Russia's military growth. As G7 and NATO summits approach, Europe's coalition of the willing continues, but under strain. With US withdrawal and internal rifts, Europe must ask how to deter Moscow and who will pay the price for peace in Ukraine.